Welcome back, everyone. The champions are caffeinated and ready to go for our next game, which pits TSM against OpTic Gaming. We're going to start by looking at the starting rosters for both of these teams. Selecting the blue side is going to be TSM, with Hauntzer in the top lane, Grig in the jungle, Bjergsen in mid, Zven in the bot lane alongside support Mithy, with their coach returning Lustboy.
And challenging them on the red side will be OpTic Gaming. In the top lane, it's Dhokla. In the jungle, Akaadian. Mid, PowerOfEvil. Bottom arrow, support Big, and Coach Zabutin on stage.
So OpTic Gaming come into this game desperate to break this 5-game losing streak that has been clouding the first half of their split.
Yeah, OpTic, they have gotten close to winning a lot of those games and close to breaking that losing streak, but they continually come up short when faced with the actual Nexus. It does feel like a lot of these problems do kind of stem from not having an in-game leader. We saw it last week with their game against FlyQuest. They were very close, unable to actually make the final push. Despite this, though, PowerOfEvil, PoE, he still looks very strong for the team. In the mid lane, he's a huge powerhouse, but he's also been making some funny, actually he retweeted, someone else made this tweet. Sometimes when you're looking at like tasteful humor, if it's a little too close to the truth, then sometimes you don't want to tweet it, but you know, he's been talking about having to carry the rest of his team. He actually has been the best performer on the team, and as long as everyone else is fine with making those jokes, you know, and they have the right sense of humor about it, then you know, more power to you. But it's going to be on him again, which is the actual heaviest creature in North America.
Maybe it's the rest of OpTic Gaming, but we're going to figure out later today. Now, they have to, of course, build momentum. They are against TSM, who kind of themselves also in need of a pick-me-up win.
Yeah, I mentioned it a little bit earlier in the day. The analyst S was talking about TSM not looking very proactive, being a little bit sluggish. Last week, though, they tried some new stuff. They did go 0-2, but they take their shot at the funneling composition. They took their shot at mages in the bottom lane. And people may remember back to last year where TSM initially also failed with Galio, and they got a lot of flame for putting Bjergsen on this tank champion and not on hard carry or whatever, and they weren't able to find success with it early on, but eventually it became one of their strongest strategies. So maybe they just needed some more time, and we'll see them come into their own this week. Currently, they are at 4-4 in the middle of the standings and would not want to drop a game here against OpTic because there's been a big rush here towards the top of the standings, and they still have a shot at shooting up.
We'll see if they can do that right there. And you're seeing TSM kind of learn some lessons from earlier, the Talon away from PowerOfEvil. He's done a lot of funneling as well as self-funnel, which is mid-smite, but with a normal jungler. That would be played by Akaadian. Talon, one of the very best champions for that kind of strategy. TSM trying to pick some of that. OpTic Gaming doing very standard tried and true red side bans. TSM, a team that has not done a lot of different things. They've played one non-marksman bot lane. They've played one funnel game on Bjergsen. Otherwise, it's
both last week.
Yeah, it's been otherwise pretty much all stock standard. So Varus locked in very early. Funnily enough, the Varus song was playing during the break, so that's kind of interesting. Either way, maybe they're influenced. I doubt it heavily. They picked the champion.
Yeah, they are leaving open once again a Xayah Rakan combo. Both, or actually, Rakan was banned out. Never mind. So that has been split up. But again, you mentioned the Talon ban, which is more unique to facing OpTic Gaming, right? And it's one of these trends that we've seen recently. Mid laners taking Smite, starting Raptors, so you get an early level 2, and then power farming your way through the game with a big experience lead with champions like Aatrox, Echo, Talon. 2 of those have been banned out. There are still more options. PowerOfEvil already tried to do it on Syndra.
Yeah.
And that was one of the attempts. So there are many other options. As long as you have some sort of AoE, you can do it with a mid lane champion. And PowerOfEvil's always been a guy to try, you know, Smite or any sort of alternate strategies to get him or his team an edge.
And he'll try once again. OpTic Gaming had a lackluster spring split, and it's been a bad start to summer as well, but there's still more games to play. They can keep pace with C9 and make that run towards the playoffs. Of course, OpTic themselves, only 2 games behind a playoff spot as well. If they can make the run, they've got 10 games counting this one to do it, and they're going to hope they can make this one happen. Of course, a Jhin and, yeah, pretty standard jungle pick for them as well, as TSM go for a semi-blind to the top lane. They probably expect Mundo for Dhokla here, and so they grab the Gangplank early on, hoping that's going to be the matchup he plays into. Otherwise, though, just wanting to grab that as soon as they can. Honestly, what OpTic wants to run.
Yeah, Gangplank has been a great champion for Hauntzer. We haven't talked about him a lot recently, as there hasn't been a huge amount of story around TSM, but Hauntzer had some very good hard carry performances with Gangplank. And we've also even, as of recently, seen it in the bottom lane to try and counter like Heimer lanes.
Yeah.
Probably not going to be that, especially since there's no Heimer already locked in on OpTic, but
Right.
this could be something for TSM to work around, right? A global from the top. They already have Tahm Kench global there from Mithy in the bottom lane. It's been one of his most played champions throughout his entire career.
Yeah.
So there is mobility here for TSM early on. On the opposite side, OpTic, of course, looking at those power picks. They have the Kindred for Akaadian, and that guy is a jungler who likes to play carry champions, likes to invade a lot. So maybe he'll be able to get it done here. Meteos mentioned on the analyst desk that if there's a tank support for you with the Kindred, it makes it a lot easier for getting vision on the bottom half of the map, and that is also true for themselves. So looks like they have a pretty good early phase of the draft going already.
Yeah, I do think OpTic are set up to kind of play a good style for them. Dhokla, there's going to be a million tanks still to play, even with the Oran ban right here. PowerOfEvil will get counterpick for the mid lane, and that's one that I expect to do quite well for OpTic. Bjergsen, probably the best mid laner of all time in North America. His accolades, his number of trophies, larger than anyone else on the planet as far as any LCS trophies are concerned. PoE, he has been the star, and if OpTic are to win, it might just be through that lane. And Akaadian having a pretty strong jungler will help that happen. That's kind of been a 1-2 punch for them. Hoping that everyone else can kind of chip in around the sides. Everyone a pretty comfortable champion for him as well. Maybe it'll happen. So Syndra off the table. No Trundle for Grig either. And there is that Mundo ban. Even though they picked up the Gangplank, and Gangplank will be a good matchup, they still want to remove some of the big dumb tanks that Dhokla might play.
Yeah, the mid lane matchup you bring up between PowerOfEvil and Bjergsen is such an interesting one, because in the beginning of PowerOfEvil's career, a lot of his hype is built up around defeating Bjergsen in TSM. I believe it was Oakland or San Jose.
Yeah.
Was the first
Almost the same city.
tournament. Very close together.
Yeah, I'm from San Jose, I can say that.
But yeah, a NorCal tournament. And continually, whenever they got matched up after that, PowerOfEvil would get super hyped up. Like, yeah, I'm going against Bjergsen. I'm the anti-Bjergsen. I take him down all the time.
Kryptonite.
And Bjergsen's like, nah, that's not a story. Why are you getting so amped up, buddy?
Yeah.
But the Syndra ban coming out was very interesting to me, because that is also one that PowerOfEvil obviously used with a smite very effectively himself. And it looks like they're going to be matched up in the Galio Jayce matchup. Could be a top lane Jayce.
Yeah, I mean, top lane Jayce is supposed to be good in a Gangplank from what I recall, and Dhokla had been very good in Academy like way back last split, and we were kind of hoping to have that.
Yeah.
Exactly, playing carries. He's been a carry player. And if this is OpTic saying, okay, new week, new us, let's find a new look. Can we find something that'll actually work? I like throwing things to the wall, seeing what sticks, saying, all right, Dhokla, go try to beat up Hauntzer in the top lane. Hopefully your practice is there. There's a Zhao jungle for Grig as well. So TSM back to the Galio that we had actually mentioned in Champ Select, or before Champ Select.
Our stories have come full circle, because TSM practicing Galio from last year with Bjergsen on that one. Now they've got triple global composition with an aggressive jungler in Zhao.
Yep.
The weakness of the champion is that you have no escapes usually, but if you have a Galio, a Gangplank ultimate, and a possible Tahm Kench bringing extra members to your assistance, you can play it aggressively. So maybe this is the comp for TSM to make some proactive plays once they get the level 6s coming in, and try and play around their jungler. Position on the team that has been changed out quite frequently and is always the hot topic when you're considering their team.
Absolutely the case. So I want to take a quick look over the OpTic side of things. TSM, a pretty tried and true composition for their players and their style. OpTic bringing out the Viktor in the mid lane for PowerOfEvil. He now accounts for more than 10% of all pro Victors this split in the top 5 regions. 12 plays, one of which was already from him coming into the game. Now he is 2 out of 13 globally. So a big cover pick for him, his second Viktor game of the split. And of course, he needed magic damage with a Jayce, Kindred, and Jhin on the team. So it's going to be all up to him to carry. He's up against his Galio, the mid lane. Galio Zhao can be a very, very scary 2-on-2 or 2-on-1 to gank with. So going to be up to him to play this one very well. But the sole magic damage dealer, PoE, the big carry of OpTic.
Yeah, Viktor definitely going to be able to scale well until later in the game. He's also going to want some early mana and rushing towards the speed upgrade for his Q to try and help out with that positioning.
Well, speaking of early mana, actually, he's going Kleptomancy in the lane matchup as well. So PoE, definitely a player who loves trying out new things. A famous example being Nashor's Tooth Orianna. He had the crazy move speed Syndra last week. This time, Klepto Viktor into a melee matchup to scale up quickly.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot of opportunity to get those auto attacks off to proc the Klepto. Go for EQs on a Galio whenever he moves up for the passive smash AoE damage. Should be able to get some rewards off of him.
And pink Birdio for Bjergsen. Arguably the best Galio skin. If you disagree, you're probably wrong. And TSM just fanning out to start things out. OpTic doing the same, so we'll wait to see as we get ourselves in. TSM are now 2 wins behind the first place 100 Thieves. 1 win will bring them a little bit closer. Either way, though, definitely their fate is in their hands. TSM, a poor showing for their standards in spring. Only a 5th, 6th exit in playoffs, their worst ever. Want to make that better this time around. And now,
Braum
late invade, and ooh, Klepto bag of gold. O-P-O-E.
A bit of a stretch there, but I'll take it.
Thanks.
Honestly, yeah, getting a sly sack of gold off the first interaction here for PowerOfEvil, this may bode well. I mean, the main goal is you want to fund your upgrades of your Hextech core as early as possible, and now that's going to get him there that much quicker. Looks like we are going to have a bit of assistance on a Raptor start here for Grig with this in Zhao. Is this going to be a rush to an early level 2 gank or something off of red? Going to try and get maybe even an early level 3 possibility. The standard Scuttle Crab wards are down, so if he does venture into the river early on, he will be seen. You can see those are the 2 wards on either side there for OpTic that do see both Scuttle Crabs. Interesting move also from Akaadian, who went red right into the Baron wall, uses Dance of Arrows to get right over it. So he's here for the spawn of this Scuttle Crab. And let's see, does the mark spawn here or
nope.
bottom one?
Bottom. 50-50, coin flip goes bad for Akaadian, sadly, and Grig's gonna walk right over. And it's going to be an uncontested Scuttle, no chance. So that's rough stuff. Of course, 4 stack is the important one for Kindred, gives you bonus attack range, but every individual stack gives you a bit of attack speed on your Q, but a damage in your W and E, so even individual ones can matter over the course of time. Either way, things traded, and it's going to be also mirrored blue buff invades. On top of wards or not, it's still going to be pretty much uncontested. Yep,
going to trade sides of the map here. And this is pretty good for OpTic. They want to have Dhokla plenty of alone time early on with the Gangplank. Jayce is very oppressive for the early stages. The range advantage, being able to constantly get harassment off and push Hauntzer under turret.
I want to point out something very unusual. Mithy recalled early for a control ward and is running into the western jungle hoping to maybe stuff Akaadian a bit. And he's going to be able to see him here. And is there going to be much of a collapse? Smites gets one of the wolves, and one of them gets stolen away, and Blast Cone's out. He is not going to be found, but that was an interesting choice where they're hoping to find a collapse and pick off Kindred, but that one will not happen.
I do like the attempt there. If they were a little bit quicker with the second half of their collapse, the Sin and Galio from mid lane to cut off that escape, maybe they at least heard a flash from Akaadian. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, looks like Zven is fine with the minion wave pushing towards him on the Varus, and he's CSing okay. So Mithy taking that opportunity didn't cost them too much. Zven is down a couple of minions, but he gets to pick them up right here and should get a lot closer in the CS.
Yeah, not too painful right now. Individual gold-wise, there is a few hundred gold lead for OpTic. Of course, some of that being Kleptomancy on this Viktor, slightly matched by the Gangplank on the other side. There's a jungler waiting in that Tri-Break, so OpTic could be ganked. There's the exhaust into the Q slow as well. The flash to get a bit more. He's going to be chopped up, no problem. Pulls him back in, and Grig ready to follow through. There is almost no way out for Big, and he's not going to burn the flash. First blood goals go over to Zven, 400 gold richer.
Ask and ye shall receive. Grig with multiple early moves here. TSM, they're criticized for being slow and lethargic, yet now proactive, make the first couple of moves for themselves, and they're rewarded with some early gold. The kill onto Big is going to go over. Let's take another look at it now. OpTic almost backed off there, Arrow and Big after the slow landed, but they walked right back in. Mithy was happy to finish up the stacks. His first stack didn't time out, so he was able to get the last one, but oh!
Going for the dive. That one was your Ace for Predator replay, and that's going to be a tower dive in as well with the wave. I'm not sure which way it's going, but a trade of blows all the same.
Woohoo! Dhokla does get the kill on a Hauntzer there. It's not going to be disastrous for Hauntzer because he also has, TP. Both of them do have TPs, and the minion wave is actually just outside of turret range, so it's not that big of a deal. Ooh.
Control ward, though, for OpTic means it's going to be a little bit more of a fog dive here for TSM, and they're going to go for this play here. Now, watch out for the Q cooldown, because they want to make sure they can push this guy away, slows him off. The smite battle, he's in range, okay. Akaadian picks that one up.
Yeah. If Mithy had gone down there maybe earlier with the Tahm Kench, you can try and threaten nomming away the Scuttle Crab from a far range, but
yeah,
they zone him out. I know it was a bit too dangerous to fight over that one. You do want to deny marks to Kindred, but you don't want to lose your life over it. Here's another replay of Dhokla's all in. Jumps in with the melee, gets the slowdown. Nice movement there with the auto attacks. And then even though they both flash,
barely gets the auto off.
Still gets the last one. And it is an area to power.
Okay, well, 300 gold lead now to TSM. The first blood, of course, making that change happen here. 4 CS difference in the top lane. So right now, Dhokla not bullying Hauntzer all that hard, and now a level 6 Gangplank can affect the map quite strongly. Also, Zhao's coming to gank, and Bjergsen looking around as well. Dhokla 1v3, ulti is on. He's going to try to run away as fast as he can. Bjergsen go for the flash jump. He's going to pull that one in. The rest of the team is there. The knockup's going to be pretty easy to land. The knockback, could they get the kill? It will be a trade with the mark stacked over for Akaadian. As Grig actually moved himself around to the side, was knocked back into the turret.
Great heads-up play there from Dhokla. As Grig flash ease in with Zhao. He's able to just knock him right back under the turret and give that kill over to Akaadian. As you said, not only does he get the mark, he gets the kill money onto this Kindred, which is going to be very big for him early on. Already has a large CS lead in the jungle over Grig, because Grig has been throwing out ganks left and right. You know, a lot of moving around the map. And Akaadian has been hard farming the jungle there on the Kindred. So even though it's another early move from TSM and they're being super active on the map, cross-map plays left and right, it's still a counter kill there for OpTic. They got, honestly, more back out of that counter kill.
Yeah, they got a mark.
With the extra summoners as well, because that was a flash from Bjergsen and Grig to force it, plus giving over the mark.
And yeah, no time in lane for Bjergsen, of course, walking out. Maybe lost a wave as PoE shoved it in. Either way, nice couple attempts right there, back and forth. I actually want to do a quick klepto track on both sides if I can. I'm actually not sure it's actually able in Spectator,
right,
but
I'll take over the play-by-play then. Go ahead and do your research there.
Yeah, I immediately have nothing, so we're done.
And you're fired.
I am fired. I am one of the worst investigators of all time, and that is unlucky. That's okay. We're back into the map, and oh no, who killed the control ward? It was Akaadian. I found it out. All right, I'm back on track.
Nice.
50% closure rate.
Actually, we have another rotation here, as Mithy's made his way to soak the minions in mid lane, and it's a collapse here from OpTic. They're making their way to try and force the blue invade with the level advantages that they have, but TSM are keeping up here and spreading out. They're able to secure that one for Bjergsen, who's down 20 CS is the current count versus PowerOfEvil. In addition to his fly stack of gold that he was able to get early on, that's
Mark 3.
Definitely on his way. Nice. 3 marks 8 minutes into the game in a competitive match.
Yeah, that's
is actually
solid.
Very high, because you don't usually get a lot of them super early on. So well done here for OpTic and Akaadian. Scaling on Kindred gonna feel very nice. He's going the super standard, press the attack plus Blood Razor upgrade. There are other options if you're, sometimes people on live and solo queue, if you're facing something like a Zhin that's going to all in you, they go with the overheal and fleet footwork combination. And you can even do warrior with that, so you get bigger shields, heals.
Right, yeah.
But definitely a lot more damage with this standard setup that we're seeing so far from Akaadian.
Yeah, and so far holding on pretty nicely. 300 gold lead for OpTic, and holding on to a pretty standard early game. It seems to have been a pretty counterpick heavy game as well. The Jayce into the Gangplank, the Viktor into the Galio, and even the Jhin was picked after Varus here. So it felt like they got to kind of counter almost all the lanes and still get a high-tiered jungler in this Kindred. So we'll see if OpTic can work through the rest of that and hold on to this lead. OpTic has actually been a pretty decent early game team. Their average stats at 15 minutes is actually up in gold and up in turrets. Over the course of this LCS split, but of course being a 2-6 team, their mid game has been lacking, and that's going to be where their growth really needs to be here. TSM, a team known for being slow and then winning in the late game either, so even with a gold lead doesn't necessarily mean that much for the red team.
And especially if you're looking at the champions here for both teams, TSM, we mentioned the level 6 power that they have with possible global ultimates coming through. Gangplank, Galio, and now Mithy as well on the Tahm Kench have the ability to move quickly or affect the map from a very long range away. And if you start that out around the Xin Zhao, as your point of power, going all in, getting an initiation on someone, that can be where you get your advantage. Even though the early game's gone pretty well for OpTic. Okay, Hauntzer here.
Yep, jumps in for the play right there, has to jump back in a second. Look at that damage output there. Hauntzer running out of health, pops the stopwatch. And Akaadian actually, yeah, afraid of the Origins coming through. The shock blast, good flash away. Hauntzer stays alive. But that is stopwatch and a flash down. What a nice gank, I guess, for Akaadian.
Yeah, just moving his way up through the river. Happens to find the Gangplank there. Red Smite and your jungle item completed. Kindred is a very scary 1v1 opponent for him. So immediately Hauntzer has to get himself out of there. And that means Akaadian gets full alone time there with the Rift Herald. Maybe Grig gonna go in and stop him though.
Yeah, and actually he sensed it out. They realized what was going on. He's gonna back out here. Grig, I don't believe he'll be able to poach this, so just gonna kill the Warden as the Herald resets.
And again, during that, you see Bjergsen moves over. They also had another recall from Mithy. Mithy has been constantly recalling, roaming to the top side of this map for the whole game. So TSM really using the threat of those global abilities pretty effectively, even though they haven't fully committed with them yet. Hauntzer obviously used a lot of his cooldowns, though, trying to escape from that.
All right, either way, TSM have managed to stem most of the bleeding, though, from a lot of heavy counter picks. Top lane farm still very close together. PoE is up quite a bit in the mid lane. That's been a nice point for them, as he's got still his tier 1 Hex Core right now. Just the E augment so far. But we'll be scaling up individual gold-wise. He's got enough for almost the rest of the item. Actually does have enough for a perfect Hex Core, so that's the recall here.
Yeah, I really like it too. He's gone with the free boots there that have come in, the magical footwear. That really saves you a lot of time in rushing to your first powerful completion of your item. Viktor revolves so heavily around the Hex Core upgrades. There you go, Freak. He's got it on his back.
Yeah.
That especially champions like that, I like the option. In addition to them providing just a lot of effective power once you get them to come in. Since he had a good early game, didn't need boots on early, I think he's been fairly efficient with his setup.
And I want to see where he goes with the setup afterwards, because we have seen a heavy mana stacking PoE before where he went for like a tier right afterwards, or sometimes an early tier as well. Of course, lots of big mana ratios on the champion specifically, or if he goes into Lich Bane or Shield. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of places you can go with Viktor. He's got a lot of hooks in the kit for itemization, so I am curious what he wants to build toward. OpTic actually roaming towards mid, maybe have a chance at going for a gank. Bjergsen right now, no tank items, just the Rod of Ages. I guess if you want to call it that, then he's got some durability, but could be a gankable champion.
Look at this, both of the bottom lanes roaming after their recalls too. This time Zven made his way up to the top side, but OpTic are already invading blue. They should be able to steal this buff away and have Arrow and Big on their way through the river.
All right, that's a nice little proactive play, though. OpTic maybe trying to turn on the pace a little bit more. We've got the sounds of a Tahm Kench ult, but
canceled.
Yeah, canceled, so he goes away with that one. Gold traded back and forth as they clear away some of these wards. And now a slow, but not quite the route. This could be enough to get away. They're going to actually burn the ults, go for this play. Can they kill off Mithy? And they actually back right back off, so nothing picked up here.
Whew. That was close. If they're all grouped up like that and TSM had Grig in position for a combination with Galio ultimate, they might have decided to go for that one, considering the ults that were just used with the Braum trying to get the initiation onto Tahm Kench. They don't have people quite close enough, though, and the call is to back off. This game is very tense, Freak.
Yeah, it is.
With them hanging so close right now, it feels like the big straw is going to come in fighting over that vision. We saw it almost break right there, fighting over these control wards, but everyone backing to get more of those control wards right now to try and set up.
I just have to worry on the OpTic side that hesitation, or sorry, the waiting for that big break, the vision play is going to favor TSM. They're happy to generally play a slower early game. OpTic, of course, did try to play around their power spikes. They just finished Stormrazor. They just finished the perfect Hex Core as well, but weren't quite able to get the fight. Meanwhile, Zven actually going for a much more greedy scaling build. I've actually seen a lot more Ruin King Varus, and it's a much better early item power spike as well. Rage actually needs kind of more items behind it to really scale in. And so kind of waiting to see those come through, because it's definitely a slower spike with a build like this.
Yeah, and you mentioned, not only that, Gangplank working on his Cole, trying to finish this one, and that pop will probably get him to the Trinity Force. Galio stacking up the Rod of Ages. But right now, TSM all moving up to try and get this turret, and Arrow trying to kill the minions.
They're going to have the damage here, even though the minions are gone. Zven knocks it down. First turret to the bot laner in the top lane as the roam came around from OpTic's side, and they will at least trade a turret, but that extra money from first is still going TSM's way, which puts them now ahead 700 gold. TSM in the lead for the first time this game.
All right, Rift Herald started up again. This one might be the site of another confrontation. Currently, Akaadian is actually counter-jungling on the other side of the map, though, and OpTic still forced TSM off. So maybe it will be Akaadian. You can actually solo Drake very easily with a Kindred with Blood's Razor completed. It was a possibility, and it looks like he might go for it. They do have vision.
Yeah, lots of damage there, and no one is anywhere close to him on this map, so shouldn't be possible to steal unless Hauntzer goes for a random barrel chain 5 screens away, which isn't doable. So autos come in, early smite. Akaadian knew he was safe, picks that one up as the blue is transferred over. So some things starting to stack up for OpTic. Again, the gold though 800 behind. Now got their work cut out for them as TSM starting to crest into that mid game.
Control Ward goes down, turns off both of those around the Rift Herald, but TSM, they've already been spotted. OpTic know they were on the Rift Herald, and it takes a long time to finish.
Slow root on a Mithy, doesn't health left on Rift Herald. They're gonna go for the shots. They pick that one up. Zven snipes it down, so Herald goes over to TSM. OpTic forced off of that one, killing a couple of wards, but now maybe look for more at Mithy. Will he flash the wall? He chose to get stunned. Instead, they're really gonna wait for this one. Baits in a little bit, but finally does flash to get over.
I'm not quite sure why Mithy took that route around. In the end, he does burn his flash. We'll see if he gets punished for it later. Tahm Kench oftentimes will get focused early on in teamfights, especially when he's not that tanky in the early stages because of the Devour. So maybe he'll get punished, maybe he won't. Right now, though, OpTic would like to get the top outer turret first and use that gold to finish some items up.
A little play by Big and PoE where PoE sat over the wall and waited for Big to clear the wards. I like that little teamwork there, knowing that Braum came up to the teammate. You can play really aggressively, know you have an escape route, and help them get rid of some more of TSM's vision. This mid lane has been pushed quite a bit. You can see, in fact, TSM waiting for the flank, actually on a ward by doing so. The rest of OpTic able to kind of play around that nicely. This mid turret down to half HP, and that is kind of the factor of some teamwork. So now another duel down here. Dhokla versus the barrels kills them both, and pushes back Hauntzer yet again as Akaadian goes for yet another Scuttle Crab. And that's mark number 4, I do believe. And so finally has 575 range.
Juicy. That's a really good timing to finish up your 4th mark, too. As TSM with the Rift Herald would probably be looking for a bit of an aggressive setup here fairly soon. OpTic are trying to keep Dhokla split pushing versus Hauntzer, but Hauntzer's going in on him.
He's going to try for this one. Some barrel chain's not going to land. The ult comes across, but now the other ult's coming in. Mithy brings in reinforcements, brings in Zven. Has to go for a bit of a duel, pushes back Mithy. No way, Dhokla gets out. Is shut down, but the health bars are a bit low. Doesn't matter though, 4 members of TSM, they stay safe. A great gank comes through.
Super aggressive use there of the Tahm Kench ultimate pays off big for TSM. They get the kill. They also get an open tower to use the Rift Herald on. OpTic, though, trying to counter push in mid lane and will trade.
And that's going to be a turret going down. Yes, as you mentioned, it will be a trade, but extra kill on the one side feels good for TSM, and they can keep pushing. Of course, Herald, a demolitionist in its own right.
You have to answer Rift Herald pushes. She can do so much damage if left unattended there. Another half of that turret is gone. They actually don't stick to the push here and overextend. OpTic should be able to go clear out the Rift Herald, so she goes down, but bottom turret actually now down to half health.
And we can watch that fight again. This replay brought to you by Acer Predator as the gank comes through 3 versus 1.
Again, Dhokla, not much he can do about getting cornered here on the Jayce. He does have flash, but gets exhausted early on, doesn't want to spend the summoner spell, knows that he is dead to rights, and TSM able to finish that one off.
And you can see now this game 1,000 apart, TSM eking out small leads over time, and the fear is their history has shown us, OpTic might be running out of ways to come back from behind later on in the game. Grig knocks down the red buff, feels pretty good about this one. You know, doing pretty standard Zhao things of building fairly aggressively. Warrior enchant into a Phage. Mid lane's already been going down thanks to his earlier Viktor pushing, but OpTic moving the next team fight as items come through. The Lich Bane is done for PowerOfEvil, so very much about finding a frontliner to attack.
But honestly, if you look at how OpTic are going to try and win, you know, you have a Jayce on your team and you want to keep them split pushing. You're playing that into this basically triple global composition TSM have, which is engineered to destroy split push. We saw it on display in the last instance where it's just Tahm Kench ultimate comes in and the Gangplank actually punishes you for trying to split push against him. So it does look fairly difficult for OpTic to fully utilize the strengths here, considering the answers that TSM have drafted already for themselves.
Yep.
Bottom side, though, should be easier for them to get the 2v1 onto Hauntzer.
All right, they're going to try again towards Dhokla here, but yeah, this time he's okay. And there's
out.
no gank coming through for Kindred. And actually, no one was even on that side of the map. They just didn't go for the play.
So Galio, yeah, Galio was all the way across on the other side of the map, so that semi-global can't come in. It would only have been Mithy who was walking down to get in that Tahm Kench range, but they still pull off the play. And if they're not going to, pull the trigger there,
When do you?
looks like, yeah, TSM are going to be very happy to put a stall on that one.
Well, slowly but surely, TSM farming pretty nicely. Up 3 in the top lane and up a solid 20 in the bot lane as well. This is at least PoE winning his matchup, but expected based on champion select. That's now TSM looking a bit more aggressive. Natural's Tooth done on Zven. He's actually got very good damage output now. 2-item Varus for AP Varus, pretty solid. But not going for turret damage just yet. They're playing very defensively, don't want to get picked off. No flash Braum ults. Just shove in the wave and turn back.
30 seconds on this Mountain Drake here. And OpTic do have some deep vision in this area of the map, so they might actually use this as their instance to try and pull off the fight. If they can land some Jayce poke beforehand, maybe establish dominance over this area of the map. Whereas TSM, they've got no vision over the Drake. Maybe they actually don't even stick anyone out there for OpTic to take advantage of.
Yeah, they just might not. But waiting for the next play. Mountain Drake up right now, and OpTic first to the play. They're inside the river. Vision-wise, TSM, it's basically dark. OpTic actually starting it right away, and it's going to be uncontested. TSM happy to bleed Drakes. They don't seem to care. They're playing for teamfight power, probably for the Baron itself, and to control their side lanes. That's been okay. OpTic on Cloud and Mountain. They actually have a pretty solid Baron killing team. 2 marksmen. PoE's got a lot of damage. Actually, you guys 3 marksmen. You consider Jayce that as well. That's a pretty solid lineup. TSM will have to respect this, and right now they're actually not playing for vision control, so OpTic able to walk into that river cleanly after already showcasing themselves on Drake and saying, okay, TSM can't see us. If we can sneak the team in, they can go for a Baron sneak.
Only a possibility. TSM have been caught with blindside Baron plays before, so they want to get some, at least Scuttle Crab vision. Scuttle Crab looks like it is up around Baron right now, and they're forwards there. A little bit of poke goes down onto Mithy, though.
Oh, they find the root with the cleanse. PowerOfEvil going to walk away, but they're still going to get the root onto Big. That's okay. A trade of Varus ultimate for cleanse. That is a better cooldown for Zven. Round 2 in a minute.
Scuttle Crab goes over to Akaadian during the little exchange there. So OpTic, you have full control over the area. And right now, Hauntzer on the Gangplank, he is just pushing all steam forward.
Yeah, he is fearless.
He's waiting for them to collapse with the global.
Here comes Galio. Dhokla flashes, still knocked up, goes to the chase, and Bjergsen going to find the taunt. They're going to find the kill. Now Akaadian in the backside, but he is 1v3, pops the ultimate. Looks for damage on a Hauntzer. Can they get this trade, though? Turret shots can come through, and now Jhin opens up, but they've gotten out of range. Nothing to really be shot at here. Grig takes a couple hundred damage, but it might not matter. Mithy a bit low, but doesn't get bursted out. He survives this damage. A nice taunt comes through. Big. Gonna pop a stopwatch, but it's still OpTic in a 4 versus 5, and they've already lost one of them. 3v5 now as TSM are in complete control here. And can they find another kill as Grig just fights a Grop to get his health back up?
Yep, TSM going to be able to push afterwards as well. They get 2 kills for themselves with the globals. Once again, this team composition engineered to answer these split pushes. OpTic, though, trying to force it here on the Baron. This is a lot.
Though. Yeah, with Zven and Bjergsen there, that cannot be an easy Baron for us. OpTic, I appreciate the try, the attempt. Think they might have had to be desperate there. They at least forced 2 teleports off of not much cost.
That feels like your bluff was just called, and everything's been shown here for OpTic now. They just lost the side lane play, then used their teleport as well, so they don't have a lot of cards left.
Akaadian jumps to the wall. They're going to lose vision control here. Still appreciate the attempt. TSM answering pretty cleanly enough, and now comes the reset for those who were still on the map. 2 items right now on Arrow's Jhin. That is not really where you want to be, I feel like, 25 minutes into the game. CS seems to be dropping a little bit here. Despite the 3 turrets they've picked up so far, Arrow has a lot of room to grow. I feel like Zven is in a stronger spot right now. Void Staff, though, just got one shot by PowerOfEvil, so he's going to be a much better frontline killer. He's just hoping to be that damage.
That's how you call purchasing an item? One-shotting?
If you buy it from nothing, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's probably the right term because one shot means something else. But that's where my vocabulary is right now.
I'm feeling it.
What would you say?
Work with what you have, freak.
Yeah. I got 12
I
words
would
at a
say
time.
he bought a Void Staff.
He did buy a Void Staff, but I like a word that specifically means you bought it with no components.
Okay.
But I feel you, man.
Take me through this replay, buddy,
Well,
because I did it the first time.
All right, well, you see, there's a nice attempt to stop Mithy's ult, which is actually really sick, because it means they've got the chance at making a 2v3 happen, but that dive is way too good. He's got no defensive tools to worry about, like a flash Galio. And then this little attempt here by Akaadian, he actually kites away, and Arrow's actually not in range to chase down Hauntzer. I think he could have maybe built some space with that, or helped actually the 3v2 against Mithy, but he actually kind of shot at kind of neither side. I think the 3v2 against the Tahm Kench could have worked, but Arrow couldn't help.
The organization here for OpTic not there in this spread out fight, and TSM actually did a pretty good job of grouping together there after they went for that tower dive, so protecting each other on the way out. And then, of course, they also answered the Baron counter attempt from OpTic to stall it out.
Well, they're going to hope to stall it a little bit longer. Right now, 2,000 gold difference. TSM ahead, but not so insanely that there cannot be a comeback. This hasn't happened much so far this split. But they can still, of course, try that Void Staff that was purchased. PowerOfEvil will have a better time killing frontline, and maybe Kite Back will work, but it's still only one tank for OpTic. That feels difficult. TSM with two frontliners feel like they can kite this a little bit more easily. Double Zhonya's Hourglass done as well now as Bjergsen and Zven each have one. It's going to be hard to kill through those, even with a high AP Viktor.
Yeah, definitely true. And as well, we had, up until this point, the majority of the vision for OpTic pretty offensively placed, but now TSM have established the control ward ring there around Baron. They were attempting a little trailing play on top side. They thought someone was going to go answer Bjergsen's Swiftwitch there, so Grig was waiting in the brush, but no one from OpTic presented themselves, and now they're moving in to take down this line that TSM set up.
All right, as a couple of wards go away, OpTic have taken vision control a little bit, but they also reveal themselves on some wards. They're going to clear these out, though, and OpTic get to play with a bit of a vision lead. Maybe they can find some kind of bait. They can find some opening here, as they have taken over most of this river, and a couple of trinket wards come back down. The Grig gets time to knock that one out, and the vision wanes back away. TSM's turn to own the river, as OpTic have shoved in mid, but Gangplank is waiting to hold the wave. And
they're spread out. They see Arrow on top side, so TSM looking for someone out of position in mid that they could catch, it looked like.
And they don't find that opening just yet, though. OpTic kiting away well enough. 1900 still the gold difference here. TSM working from behind one turret. They have not done much to mid lane outer. Not that it seems to mean too much right now. Arrow actually stopped by for a Quicksilver Sash. So not adding any more damage. And Arrow's not been getting killed. He's not been the target of the TSM kind of dive combo. So I'm not sure he needed to delay his damage output, but it's the choice he made to make sure he was more safe. Now Bjergsen in a duel with Akaadian finds a knockup, though, the taunt as well. His days are numbered. Grig shows up. He's going to pop Lamb's Respite, but will there even be enough damage to turn it back around? Gets the heal, tries to run away, and Grig will not get much more done, so now a re-engage to the bottom side. They're going to find a route onto Mithy. Here comes the curtain call. Can they pick him off? Waiting to pop his stuff as the ulti comes across as well. Big damage on the Hauntzer. Pops his Sterix gauge as well. More poke, and actually OpTic get control of the map for now.
They pushed him out. Hauntzer did get the last hit on that Scuttle Crab, though, with the parlay as they were running away. So TSM has Scuttle Vision, which is big at stopping OpTic.
Shock Blast into root from Arrow could almost be enough to get the kill, but they don't go for that play. He's in Fog of War now, so they're trying to rush down Baron. Health bar's a bit low on the TSM side. They have to come back and collapse out of this one. OpTic, though, missing every ultimate.
Galio ultimate is available. This could be bad for OpTic.
2v1, 2v0 in ultimates. Go to the front line. They're going to eat him right back out. It was a bait, because now comes Galio. They're trying to finish up Baron, though. The smite fight, it gets picked up, so now they're re-engaged. 5v4, they've already picked up Grig. Big staying alive, and Bjergsen might not have a way out. He has flash, though. He's going to build a bit of space. Gets jumped on the stopwatch, will only buy 2.5 seconds. As PoE times the backline, he might indeed be his kryptonite if he takes down two. That team fight was beautiful for OpTic.
OpTic have done it. They got the Baron, and they got 4 kills for themselves. They're going to be able to run through the bottom lane here. Teleport is already used. They've got a bunch of minions to push with, and they've got the Baron Siege going to be able to take down inhibitor turret number 1 already. What a disaster for TSM. I thought they were going to rush further into the pit, but they stay on the outside. OpTic finish off the Baron. They immediately kill Grig after he comes out of Devour. And now Dhokla actually might have to run for himself.
This is a bad spot for him to be in. Flashes back though, has a teammate, and as the people still respawn, it's a temporary 5v3. Middle inhibitor will fall, and it's going to be time for the reset. Now OpTic can still be chased down. Gangplank goes up in about 5 seconds. TSM can chase this one. And here comes the TP flank. This could just break the back of OpTic. Cutting to the right. And then one-shot Grig. And the guy out of the way of Varus as well. The ulti missed. They've got space to get out. OpTic get an extra kill on the way to the exit. There's actually a one-shot, by the way. PoE killed him by himself.
Well then, that
other definition of one-shot.
is a one-shot. Let's take a look at the attempt here from TSM. They don't have any vision in to see the health of the Baron. And as you talked about earlier, OpTic can burn that sucker down. So TSM caught on the outside here. They didn't get a good initiation, and instantly Grig went down there on the outside with just a couple of members from OpTic. PowerOfEvil on the Viktor, huge damage, flashes forward, gets a bunch of the kills for himself. And this is a completely different story here.
Yeah.
Now it's OpTic, huge upper hand in the late game, giant gold lead, Baron to push with as well.
Yep.
And PoE's tweet about carrying the squad, he is doing it.
He's got a strong back. He does squats every day of the week, which I don't recommend, by the way. You should alternate your muscle groups, but either way, PowerOfEvil, massive here on this one. Yeah, I don't go to the gym ever, but I know that one.
If you did, you would know what to do.
I would, and so does PowerOfEvil on the Viktor. Oh, man.
Hauntzer's trying to split push. You can see on the top side of your map over there, but
They're going to give this up.
you can't split push against Baron. Yeah, you're going to lose the rest of your base.
Well, if they can hold Nexus turrets, he's going to get some minions and maybe bot lane tier 2. But right now, double inhibitor is down, and the bottom inhib has an open shot as well as the turret's already gone. So OpTic walks in, the recall comes through for Hauntzer, 5 versus 5, 45 seconds left on the Baron buff. PoE has to respect the damage.
TSM in a very bad situation here. Only one inhibitor left to defend, and they have no defensive structures available to assist them with it. OpTic are pushing them in.
The damage, the flash in, down comes Galio. This is the TSM fight. Can they find it? Looking at big, they get one so far. Grig in the front line does get knocked down. PoE though very, very low. Lambs are spiked. Buys a lot of time for their backline. The heal comes through, and OpTic might wipe the floor. Hauntzer over the wall. Gonna look for a Q. Eats the Origin, staying alive just barely. And Zven makes a big play as well. A little bit too early, but the shot comes through. PoE knocks him down. Only one member alive, and he spots him. He stops the recall. 8 seconds, all they need is the minions flood in, and they might have the time to knock down these turrets. This should be enough. Hauntzer versus 2. Baron buff on. The turrets fall onto the Nexus. Hauntzer has to make this play happen. Barrels come down, looks for the chain, can't get the damage. They're still trading shots in. They go for the kill on the Gangplank. His health bar is going to run out, and OpTic have done it. They've knocked down TSM.
Oh my goodness. PowerOfEvil 7-0-3 on the Viktor. Highest kill participation and kills on the team once again.
17,000 gold on Klepto Viktor. Counter picks the Galio. There have been 13 Viktor games in the world in top 5 in Summer Split. PoE is 2 of them. Says, this is my comfort pick. This is my pocket pick. This is my champion. Makes it work so well here. Puts the squad on his back. Has an amazing game.
Look at the damage charts as well. He doubles everyone on his team.
Yeah.
Almost doubles everyone in the game. Hauntzer's the only one that even got close, and he was still 11,000 damage more than the Gangplank.
Beautiful stuff right there. TSM, a losing record in the first round robin, 4-5. The 2018 struggle seemingly not ending here. 6th place was the disappointment, but now 4-5, maybe worse than that. TSM still have their work cut out for them for this roster experiment to work. Zven and Mithy, a super high profile pickup. Maybe just not quite putting in what they needed. Zven had a solid game, don't get me wrong. But the TSM experiment so far, not the best across 2018. PoE though, smile on his face. Arrow, decent game on that Jhin as well. Deathless for him, 107, did show up in the team fights. But what else can you say? A gigantic upset here. OpTic Gaming, who has had struggles this entire year, go to comfort, and they pull it out.
Baron play
Yeah.
wins the entire game for them right
Yeah,
there.
that was big.
Nice move. They force it over the Scuttle Crab vision,
Yep.
even with the Globals coming in. Finish off the Baron. PowerOfEvil comes up big in the team fight, and they take half the base in one push.
I got to point something out. NA Jayce won a game. I gotta bring that up because we all know NA Jayce does not look very good. Sadly, in this one, 1-5-7, maybe not the most beautiful here as well. But Dhokla tried to kind of
10
top
points
side.
to Gryffindor.
10 points to Gryffindor. Either way, yeah, the split push was hard against double global, so they went to go play Baron setups instead. That part did work out.
It was
OpTic.
hard. It was ineffective.
It was, but at least they won, and PowerOfEvil was massive. So now, for more on that win, let's hear from Ovly and the Machine Herald for OpTic Gaming.
Thanks, guys. PowerOfEvil, congratulations. You've ended OpTic's loss streak, and you took down TSM. What does the win mean to you and your team?
Well, after losing 4 games, it's really great. It's a big relief for everyone, and especially for me, taking my former teammates down with Zven Mithy is really fun always.
Now, I spoke with Zabutin beforehand, and he said that practicing with the team on a loss streak is almost 10 times harder. So how are you and the team able to keep up team morale and take the win today?
Well, we had pretty bad practice most of the week. We lost a lot of games, but I feel like everyone is really committed on giving 120%, and I think I know out of experience that if not everyone goes that extra mile and he doesn't give all the effort he can, it's kind of doomed. So I just try to emphasize on that every day, and I think everyone put in the effort, and I'm happy it finally worked out.
Now, if everyone's putting in 120%, it's like you're putting in 300%. Everyone's memeing about you carrying the team, but you also shot out some memes as well on Twitter. Can you tell us about that tweet and maybe your team's responses?
Well, it was just like a funny joke, right? But my teammates were like, Dhokla especially was like, man, that's pretty rude. And I was like, damn, I can't actually tweet it out, but then I tweeted it out anyway because they're animals.
You have the score to back you up, but you guys do take on Cloud9 tomorrow. Any thoughts going into that match?
Well, as I already tweeted out, it's the match of the week for me and for everyone. It should be for the entire NA LCS. It should be the match of the split even, since it's the best teams facing each other. And I'm pretty hyped for it.
Now you made me excited for it. Thank you so much. And for more on the game, let's hear from the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Ovly. Great to hear from PowerOfEvil after they break a 5-game loss streak here for OpTic up over TSM. We're going to dive into the game and break it down in just a minute, but we found ourselves with a really cool teaching opportunity here. We've got Meteos on the desk, jungle expertise, as well as a Kindred in the game. So we're going to pull up a replay and just kind of talk about some early game Kindred mechanics.
Okay, so Kindred is a champion who needs to get marks, which appear on camps, to get strong. And her first mark is always going to appear on one of the scuttle crabs. It appears 5 seconds after the crab spawns, so here we see Akaadian go for the top crab, hoping that this one gets marked. But as we can see on the map, he gets unlucky and the bottom crab is marked. So at this point, Akaadian continues killing the crab and actually denies himself a mark, because what ends up happening is if Zhin kills the bottom crab, he kills the top crab, nothing else will get marked until another crab spawns.
Because your first mark has to be on a scuttle.
Yeah, when you're at 0 marks, it has to appear on a crab. So what Akaadian could have done in this situation is move into the top side jungle, because he saw Zhao in the bottom river, and he could have taken blue, Gromp wolves, and then came back in the 40 seconds after the initial mark died, the next thing will get marked, and he could get his free mark there. So I think Akaadian could have maybe had a better start if he didn't kill this crab.
We're going to watch it play out as it did. Funnily enough, he takes your advice only after killing the scuttle crab, right? We'll see him move into the opposing jungle for that counter. He could have just essentially reversed the order and come away with 1 mark more.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on there, because you never know exactly where the Zhin is, and he showed a little late, but it's a great general point that, like, if you're playing Kindred and you get unlucky on the first mark, but the other guys on the other scuttle crab, leave yours up for a little bit, do a couple other camps, and come back to it. And that was something I didn't know. It's a really great just point for general Kindred play.
I also want to point out, I was taught this by Forrest Within. He's a Kindred main and challenger. Really good player.
It's the advantage of putting in the games, right? You have to put in X number of games to really start to understand certain mechanics. Actually, this was just another fun aside. You just told us about a Galio mechanic as well with Aftershock specifically.
Oh yeah, I found this one out yesterday talking to a Galio main, that when your Aftershock procs, you get like 70 extra MR.
Tons of MR.
And it makes your passive do like 40 more damage at level 1. So that's something I didn't really think about, but a pretty cool mechanic in the
Yeah,
game.
take Aftershock, proc that early, and out-trade anybody. But now to talk more specifically about this game, because it was not decided by Akaadian, opting to kill that Scuttle Crab. Let's first take a look at the draft and the way it fell for both teams. What I'm noticing, Mark, is TSM and the number of globals that they have.
And that makes it really scary for that Jayce pick that they locked in. They already saw the Tahm Kench. Maybe that's not quite enough. You see the GP and you want to go for the counter pick. There were some bans, but you had a lot of things left up. You could have gone for something a little less vulnerable, like a Darius or something, but they go for the Jayce. Then the Galio comes in, and it suddenly becomes very scary to play Jayce into that because you want this isolated 1v1 where you get to bully him. There's 2 globals on the enemy team now. You're probably not going to get that opportunity.
It's a little interesting to see that Gnar was available here because for pretty much all of last split, GP versus Gnar was that top lane matchup. Like, one team picks GP because he's so strong in his global ultimate. The other team responds with Gnar because he eventually can just kill GP in a long lane. And he's very hard to punish due to his double jump and move speed. So maybe it would have been a better pick, but it does seem like the Jayce worked out.
Right, you got a global on the GP itself. You've got the Galio who can join. You now have the Tahm Kench who can join with a teammate. On top of that, teleports taken across the team for TSM as well. Let's take a look at how some of these globals played into the early kills that fell in their favor.
And this is after Dhokla did not get the ideal start. His first attempted solo kill resulted in a 1-for-1. Then he got ganked another time that resulted in a 1-for-1. And then once the map breaks open and the globals are at their strongest, he just never gets left alone from that point on. And he keeps getting picked off in the side lane. And it's admittedly very hard to do against this comp.
We actually saw some all chat from Dhokla on the dive. He said worth. And then after that, he just kept saying 1v1 me noob on each gank.
Oh, yeah, I missed that one.
It was small, it was subtle, it passed by quick, you just had to notice it.
Exactly.
But definitely a hard situation to run Jayce due to all that external pressure.
Right, and just in general, right, you think about the chaos that this causes for team comms. I can only imagine with OpTic, right? Like trying to keep track of the different globals, the cooldowns and the TPs and whatnot. And how do you ever find an advantage against a team that seems to always be able to turn your 1v1 into a 3v1 in their favor?
Generally, against comps with tons of globals. I remember back in the day, like early league, like season 2, it was TF Shin every game. And what teams ended up doing to counter this is you just force a 5-man engagement because even if you have 3 champions with globals, if you force them all to physically be there, their global doesn't help too much more. So that's what they had to set up, but it can be really hard when there's very good wave clear, Baron's hard to rush down, so pretty tough situation to be up against globals.
I was going to say, it's a tough situation, but they did manage to find one.
They exactly did that at 29 minutes into the game. 4-0 near Baron for OpTic Gaming. This is where the whole game turns on its head.
And we thought this was like the throw right here because Dhokla was getting punished in the side lane. I think he was 1-4-1 at this point, and it looks like things are going bad, but Grig is way far ahead of the rest of the play. He's already chunked out by the time this is going on. Bjergsen shows up, and they're just so disjointed. Now Bjergsen's alone in the front line. Hauntzer's chunked out. They actually get the Baron, and then that's not the end of it. They chase down a number of kills here. The Zhonya's by Bjergsen. He's still going to go down. PowerOfEvil with the very aggressive flash, and then Zven with the backwards flash.
That must have been a misclick.
I have to think that was a misclick. He was charging an arrow at the same time, so he probably wanted to turn around, shoot the arrow, and flash away. Kind of flubbed it, and as a result, they hand over another kill, and TSM fall off a cliff.
Yeah, what the heck?
Grand Canyon right there. That was
ugly gold graph.
I think
I've ever seen one.
That was definitely a super Hail Mary all-in call by OpTic there. I guess they realized that we're never going to win this game splitting them up. We have to just go for this. And very good zone by PoE. He chunked GP to 1 HP. TSM wasn't actually able to get in on the Baron because I imagine if they were able to get to the Baron, drop a Galio ult on them, that would have gone really bad. You saw Akaadian was sitting in the back of the pit with 10% HP, just guys, please help me kill it. Please help me kill it.
Yeah, no, Mark, I just have to relay a message from production. They wanted me to let you know that your introduction of that clip, the transition was flawless. So,
thanks. I'm glad we stopped down the section.
Yeah, well done.
Don't hit me after the break.
Well done
Tell
on
me
pulling
on air
that one
how
up,
great I am.
buddy.
Because my predictions aren't going well.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks for
0-3,
helping
so I
do
need
my
to pick
job
me up.
in that way. But overall, we do have to kind of tip our caps to OpTic because we just talked about all of the things within this game that was going to make winning near impossible or difficult for them, right? I feel like for 80% of that segment, we were saying these are all the things that are going well for TSM. But then ultimately OpTic wins, which means that they had to have the composure and the wherewithal to say, what's our one win condition? It's get them into a 5v5 team fighting scenario where they're not optimally using those globals or those AoE ultimates to zero us out.
PoE did manage to carry the heaviest animals on the planet. So huge shout out to PoE. I don't think many people could have carried as much as he did there.
Yeah, if he ever needed to justify the tweet, like that game was like.
He did play very
That's
well
the
that
way
game.
you do it, right?
He played really well that game.
I mean, whatever. And this is all before the Viktor buffs. I'm excited to see him play that once he has more range on the W. Time to take a commercial break. When we return, Golden Guardians and OpTic Gaming clash on Summoner's Rift. Don't touch that browser.
Pulls it back in, and Grig ready to follow through. There is almost no way out for Big, and he's not going to burn the flash. The knockup's going to be pretty easy to land. The knockback, could they get the kill? It will be a trade with the mark stacked over for Akaadian.
We're going for will be here.
Yes, flash, yes, flash, yes, flash.
Trying to predict the flash if you can. Or just hold it. Nice. I'm gonna Herald bot here versus Project.
Yeah, Herald bot, Herald bot.
We get people mid.
Just live with Baron. No. Trust us. Trust the yourself, guys.
Watch GP Baron. Watch GP Baron.
Looking at Big, they get one so far. Grig in the front line does get knocked down. PoE though very, very low. Lambs fights a lot of time for their back line. The heal comes through, and OpTic might wipe the floor. Barrels come down, looks for the chain, can't get the damage. They're still trading shots in. They go for the kill on the Gangplank. His health bar's gonna run out, and OpTic have done it. They've knocked down TSM.
Welcome to Level Up, presented by State Farm, where we take things you know about the game and share the little details that help you crush the Nexus like a pro. Whether it's how to solo Drake or crush teamfights on Vlad, send your suggestions on what we can do for future episodes. Use the hashtag NALCS and we'll get you and your teammates caught up in no time. Everyone knows that Rift Herald can demolish turrets in the blink of an eye. So today, we're sharing some tips to take down that bulldozing beast. As of patch 8.13, the epic monster we lovingly refer to as Shelly has 3 attacks. Basic attacks, which deal 4% of your current health, her charge, which does 200% physical damage, and the swipe, which dispenses a whopping 300% physical damage. Make use of Rift Herald's long windups within the pit to dodge her swipe and charge. This will allow you to take Shelly without losing all of your health in the process. Remember to play around the eye on her back to inflict 12% for maximum health, and you'll be soloing Shelly in no time.